My name is James Hatfield. My wife Danielle and I are part of the network leadership team here at the Asheville Church Network. And if this is your first time joining us, we certainly hope you feel welcome. I know the first time I came in here 20 years ago, not to this building, but into church for the first time, I felt extremely awkward. Why did I feel awkward? Because I grew up atheist. In an atheist household, I was atheist. We never talked about God in my house, ever. We never prayed. We never used the Bible or for anything. It just wasn't a thing for us. In fact, my family treated Christians like people who believed in something that wasn't real, a fairy tale. We weren't going to tell you that Jesus wasn't real, although that's what we thought. We didn't dislike Christians. We just thought you believed in made-up stories. We thought when you die, your energy just goes somewhere and that's it. Lights out, you're done. That's it. That was it. Just live your life and it's over. Growing up, though, my best friends had something unique growing up. My best friends were 3 identical triplets that you wouldn't be able to tell apart unless you were good friends or family with them. And I grew up with them ever since I was a little boy. We did everything together. We did overnights. We did camps. We learned to drive together. We went fishing. We skipped school together. We did everything together. We were up to no good, and that's were my best friends. They just lived in the neighborhood, and that's all I knew. But they were a little different. They were a little different because they had a disease called cystic fibrosis. If you're not familiar with it, that's okay. Most people aren't. It's a pulmonary disease. It affects your lungs, your immune system, and at that point, life expectancy was 18 years old. Today, it's about 35 or 40. And one of my careers for a while, I loved doing it because we focused on cystic fibrosis in clinical drug trials. But so I've got a connection there. But their life expectancy was 18 years old. But the thing is, they didn't want anybody to know that they had this disease. The whole thing they wanted to do is be normal. They don't want people to look at them, treat them differently. So they did everything for their disease early in the morning. They took their treatments early before they got up early. They got to kind of like wake your lungs up a little bit and go through treatments, put on different jackets and stuff. And, maybe at lunch you might see something different because they had a pile of pills. So they taught me how to like swallow a bunch of pills at once, which may have been a good or bad idea, I don't know. But you just take a big mouthful of water and down the pills go. I mean, they did like by the handful. It was incredible. But they were also in and out of the hospital really quick, like little treatments. They'd be in for a day or out. But because there was 3 of them and they all had it, and they were actually, at that point in time, the only triplets in the whole world that all 3 had it. So they moved to Durham, where I grew up, to be near Duke University because Duke had a great facility there that they could really take care of kids with this disease. But that meant something for the parents, because I don't know if you know, but those kind of treatments cost a lot of dollar bills, and they didn't have a lot of dollar bills. So to make sure that Medicare took for it, they just didn't work. That's just how they had to roll. So they cleaned houses for cash, and they lived simply because the boys all needed to have these treatments done. And what an example of love, by the way. That's not even in my notes here, but that family really impacts me. Okay, pull myself together. But, we kind of grew up normally, like I said, best friends. You didn't really pay much attention to the disease because when you're under 18, you live forever and whatever. It'll come when it comes, and lights will go out when they go out. So we didn't pay much attention to it. We just wanted to be normal, have a lot of fun. But then when I graduated high school, it was time for me to go to college, and I went across the country. And I left my best friends, and I also had a high school sweetheart at the time. I thought she was the one. But I had a scholarship, and so I went to where I got a scholarship. But after about a year, I was feeling kind of lonely. I missed my girlfriend. I missed my best friends. And so I was like, I'm just going to move back because I missed being with them. But during that semester before I came back, some things started happening. My girlfriend and I broke up. So that kind of crushed me. I was like, kind of was coming back for you, but okay, these things happen. And I was crushed. And then right before I got back, Mason, one of the triplets, passed away. And that was like shock to the system. I was like, ugh. Just shocked. So to come back to North Carolina that summer, I was living in the basement of one of my friend's parents' house. They moved away. So now I was in this basement of someone's house I didn't know, and I was really sad. And I just felt during that time, I was just sad all the time in that house. So my parents had moved. I spent every day in that house sad, but I was always with Micah and Martin. Those were the other 2 triplets. And I was always at their house all the time because they were just used to doing things in threes. They'd done threes their whole life. Everything was in threes. So I became number 3 for a little while, and I needed it too. They wanted, I needed it. It's just we were all sitting around crushed all the time, so it was kind of nice, just being with them in that way during that time. We cried, we hurt, and then we decided, let's go do something. Let's just get out of here, so let's just go. So my grandfather had this old truck. We're like, let's just go get the truck and drive it, because he lived in Arizona. It's like, let's get a one-way ticket, and then we'll drive back and do something. Let's just get out of here. So me, Micah, and Martin, we bought our one-way tickets, and then a couple weeks before we were going, Micah got sick. So in the hospital, but typically it's literally like a day or two. It's like in and out, get your treatments, but it just kept dragging and dragging and dragging. We're like, I'm sure he seemed kind of fine, so we're like, And then it was getting close, and Micah was like, hey, Martin, you and James just go. I'll be here when you get back. Just go. So we hopped on the airplane, and we're landing in Texas to, connecting flight. And when the agent meets us there, and they're like, Martin, are you Martin, my friend? You got to go back. Your brother is taking a turn. You got to go back. So they put him on a plane, and he went back to Micah, and I went to Grandpa's house. I was like, geez, crushed again. I don't want to drive back across the country all by myself with all this junk. I'm going to be a wreck. And then my grandfather had a friend that was next door, and this guy was like, I'll drive you back. I still don't even know this guy's name to this day. Because I just was in a fog, I'm like, wow. You think back on things like, dude, I can't believe that guy did that for me. I don't even know if I said thank you. I don't even know. I don't remember at all. But he did, and I'm grateful. But let me catch up to my notes here. But again, I get back, start driving back, going back, and by the time I get there, Micah was put on a ventilator, which is not good. You get on a ventilator, when they talk about all this COVID stuff, it's tough. And that time, they would put a hole in your neck. So when I got back, I walk into the ICU room, and it's just Micah in there getting on the vent, and he's passed out. And I'm walking in there by myself. It's kind of dark. I just start having a moment. I knew something was going, so I was like, I got to get out of the room. And as I'm walking out of the room, the nurse runs over and grabs me. And she's like, you need to sit down right now, because I was so dizzy. She's like, you're going to pass out, so you just need to, it's just a lot. It's just a lot, to see that. For someone you've known your whole life, you're like, woo, this is tough. But Mike actually woke up next week, which was, we got one more week, basically. We got to talk, and then that was it. So he quickly passed away. And so give me moments here, and I'll get back. Take a moment. So I was crushed again. I was going to North Carolina State University. And I couldn't keep my GPA up because I just couldn't keep my mind right. And I had a 1.6 GPA, which, by the way, you don't want that because you're going to get your butt booed out. So my GPA was down to 1.6, and I kept trying to fill my holes of sadness with all these things. Let me fill it with, drugs or alcohol or girls or just stupid things. Anything I thought would fill an unfillable hole of sadness, I'm just going to throw it in there and see what works. And I walked into an English class, and there's these two girls sitting there, and they didn't know what I was going through. They just were simply asking me, hey, would you like to go to church? They were evangelizing, awesome. And I was like, why not? They could have asked me to do anything. Bungee jump next week? Why not? Church? Why not? Never been there. Let's go. So that next Sunday, I walked into church. They picked me up. My earrings were in, and, spiky hair with the highlights. And, I tried to be cool, but I was not cool. I thought I was. But I walked into church. So if you're new with us today, I understand what it's like to walk in, and I understand if you just want to come check it out, what is this, So I totally get it. I understand what it's like not to know anybody in the room when you walk in. I didn't know anybody. Certainly didn't know these girls, really. You never really know what somebody's going through. So if something's going on in your life right now that nobody knows about, I totally get it. If somebody in here seems like everyone else is happy but them, totally get it. I was not happy at all. If you feel lonely, I totally get it. Very lonely when I walked in here for the first time. If you feel like you've tried everything, but you're still willing to try one more thing, that's where I was. And church was weird for me. It was really weird. I knew nothing about the Bible. I certainly didn't know God. And I had no clue what I was doing in here. And I didn't really trust these church folks. anyway, because that's remember how I was raised. Y'all believe in made-up stories. And I thought something seemed a bit weird about these people too, by the way. I was like, a little cockeyed. But they recommended that I read the Bible. So again, I'm very influential. Okay, I'll read the Bible. Why not? Where do I start with this thing? I don't know what this does. And they were like, you should start in the book of John. So I did. Start in the book of John. What do I do in the book of John? I don't know what I do. So I started reading, and I was like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite every scripture as I write it. I was just making it up. No one told me to do it. I was like, I guess I'll just do this. So I rewrote the whole book of John. I kept going every morning, every afternoon, every evening, every night. I kept going, and I rewrote the whole New Testament by hand, except for the book of Revelation, because I have a bad habit of not finishing books, and that one kind of weirded me out a little bit at first. Maybe I'd just pause, and I never did it. I should go back and write it. I lost all those journals somewhere. I would love to see it. Gosh, there were all these 3-ring binders, but anyway, whatever. So why did I tell you all that? What's the point? Why would I tell you all this? I told you this to ask you one question and to relate to new people that are here for the first time. That's my hidden agenda. It's been over 20 years since that moment that I walked into church for the first time. And my question for you today is, what would it take for you to sell everything you owned to buy one thing? Literally everything that you own and buy one thing. What would that one thing be that you would buy? And just don't say the religious answer. I know some of you are thinking it because there's religious people in here. I know, but don't say it unless you mean it. Let me give you an example of what a religious answer looks like. The other day, we have all these videos, Google, whatever, we're going through, and we're looking. I got 4 kiddos from 11 to 3 years old, and we're looking at my 2 oldest girls. They were 3 and 4 years old at the time, and we're looking through these videos, and my wife and I ask a question. We're videotaping them. Who do you want to marry when you grow up? And so one of them gives me her real answer, not the one that mommy and daddy want to hear. Oh, I want to marry Eli. Why do you want to marry him? Because he's fun to play with. And yes, Eli is a I'm glad he's not in the room, or my other daughter, because I'd embarrass the snot out of them right now. Right, Sam and Maui? Yeah, she wanted to marry Eli, Sam and Maui's boy. And then my other daughter, we were like, who do you want to marry? And she was like, probably God or Jesus. That's an example of a religious answer that she wanted to tell mommy and daddy because that's what we wanted to hear. Right? Oh my goodness, my religious little girl. So what would you sell everything for to buy? Oh, probably Jesus or God. So I know you guys. I know some of y'all. So let's look in the Bible together. We like everybody in the church to swipe on a Bible, to read it. We're going to go to Matthew 13. We only need one scripture today. I don't have fancy PowerPoints. I don't have videos. I just got me, the Bible, and an iPad with all my notes because if I don't stay on my notes, we'll start going down rabbit holes because I'm a talker. Matthew 13, take your time. Thank you, bro. Matthew 13 and verse 44. This is Jesus. So again, my first time looking at a Bible ever, someone passed me one, and I was like, why is this one red and this one black? Red means that Jesus is saying it. Oh, okay, got it. I literally had no idea. Anyway, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. And then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought the field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away, sold everything he had, and he bought it. So in ancient times, it was common to hide your treasure in the ground like a pirate. Hide in the ground. You know why? There was no physical banks. They had bankers, but no banks. I don't know how that worked out, but that's what it was. But the question I had after reading this, and if you look down, it said it a couple times, what in the world is the kingdom of heaven? Sold everything to buy the kingdom of heaven. What's the kingdom of heaven? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because this year, we've been in a series called The Kingdom of Heaven. Every Sunday, someone get up here. And so if you missed all those, again, first time here, we've got all the videos. You can go back and start to explain and unpack what the Kingdom of Heaven is. So would you sell everything you owned right now, everything on your back, everything, for the kingdom of heaven? These two parables teach us some truth, and a great truth, that the kingdom is of such great value that one should be willing to give up all one has in order to gain it. And Jesus is not implying that you can buy it with money or good deeds. What he's trying to say is that it means to give up everything you have and see the world in a different way. How you view your finances, how you are in your marriage, how you date people, if you date at all, how you are at work, how you treat people, how you think, how you act, how you talk, what you believe. It's your entire world view that has to change. But change to what? Change to a worldview that looks at the world through the eyes of Jesus, that we read in the Bible, not what you think you've heard or what you think someone thinks, but like, what does it really say? What is Jesus really like? So are you willing to start looking at the world in an entire new way? How do you get to a place where you're willing to sell everything, to give up everything, to turn yourself in and start over? What could be so great about the kingdom of heaven? Why take such a risk and sell everything and change your entire life? I mean, how do you even get your heart there? Ask a broken person how you get your heart there. When you're willing to give up everything. When you walk in and you're like, I've tried everything. That's one way. That is definitely one way to do it. It's the hard way. But a broken person is ready to turn themselves in usually. Does it take 3 of your best friends dying? Does it take losing your sweetheart or a breakup or a divorce? What about sickness? What about being devastated financially? What about being dependent on drugs and alcohol? Well, it did that for me. I had to get to all these hard places before I was ready. I was broken. I was lost. I was lonely. I was tired. I was dependent. I was done. I was done. I felt my brokenness. And in Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, the Beatitudes, one of them says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Jesus said that. Kingdom of heaven, there it is again. When you are able to see how poor you really are, and some of us think we're pretty good people. Some of us we walk in like, I ain't good at all. There's nothing good about me. It just depends. People are on different spectrums, right? But when you're able to really see how poor you are and that you really have no chance, then you may be willing to give up everything for the kingdom of heaven. So what do you do next? What does it look like to find the treasure, to find the pearl? Where is it? It's in this book. The treasure is in here. It's in a story. Maybe one you really have never read for yourself. It's not, again, what people say or what you think it says. It's actually what it says. And that's what it blew my mind. I had no idea it said some of this stuff. And you know what? You may need some help. I did. I need some help reading this thing. It's difficult to understand. So I had a few men in my life sit down, and when I asked a bunch of questions, they helped me. Because I was like, where does it say I can't smoke cigarettes in this book? Because I smoke half pack a day, and I don't see it. Like, you ever heard this thing called debauchery? Debauchery what? No, I don't know what that is. So I had to look that up. And like, oh yeah, that's probably it. I mean, I smoked cigarettes the day I got baptized. And I tried to quit cold turkey. That's hard to do. I don't recommend it. You need some help because I was shaking like a leaf. And then I kept sneaking them too. And I was like, hey, God, I'm trying here. I'm broken. So again, it wasn't anything like I thought. So if you're broken or lost right now, or you're just like, I'm not sure what's going on, you've got to read the Bible. Ask for a little help. But you're going to have to put the work in. Because some people can carry you for a little while. They can carry you down like, hey, but if you don't want to put in the work, it's hard to find the treasure. Right? And it won't be easy. But then when you're asked, if you do find it, what would you be willing to sell everything for? You may have a new answer that you really feel. when you say kingdom of heaven, because you understand it. This was my story 20 years ago. It's been 20 years. And I'm not too proud to think that I can't fold up today, turn around, and that Satan doesn't have a plan to get me out of here. And he's going to make some things look really good that haven't looked good before or whatever. So I don't want to get too proud, because even 20 years in, sometimes the world looks very tempting again. But I need to keep pursuing God every single day. Did you know it takes work to believe? It's exactly what Jesus said in John 6. Jesus said, the work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent. And again, in John chapter 8, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I wanted to be set free. And that sounded real good to me, because I was done. But it's not just reading it, because I can read it, memorize it, have it up, written the whole thing like I did. But if you don't do it, you ain't going to find the truth. Mama could tell you what to do, Grandma could tell you what to do, the Bible could tell you what to do, but if you ain't going to do it, you ain't going to be set free. Ain't going to happen for you. Because that's Jesus' money back guarantee is what we like to call it. Anyway, doing the commands of Jesus will jack your life up, as John said last week in his sermon. I needed my life re-jacked up because I had jacked it up just fine myself. I was like, I need to re-jacked up, but I like that, what you said last week, John. But if maybe you stopped pursuing God. Maybe you had before and now you stopped and you forgot. What I'm going to say to you today is today's a great day to restart. Today is a great day to restart. Or maybe you're like me, walking in for the first time. Y'all, some weird people up here. But you know what? Today is a great day to start. You can start in John, just like I did. You can re-script, you can do whatever. Today's a great day to start. Because you know what? With 3 friends that all died at 18, 19, and 23, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen a lot of death, and it's not just them. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of death. It's hard, which is why I got all these tattoos. Again, anyway, that's another sermon. I like these. But anyways, I'm going to tell you right now, don't wait. Tomorrow may not come. Has so much trouble in itself anyways, as Jesus said. But today would be a great day to start. God loves you a lot. And we're here to help you. If you need help, help me out. I don't know how to do this thing. Somebody here will help. I'll help you. Someone help me. I'll help you. And that's that. So I'm going to pray.